We are not a dog pony show here at the Law and Crime Network. We are doing things with our producers around the country with the most fascinating trials. Let's face it, folks, we can't get away from this biggie, the Paul Manafort trial that is currently now being tried in the Eastern District of Virginia. I have right here the indictment of all the charges that are going on in the Manafort case, and it's fascinating. We have with us from the Law and Crime Network, Colin Kalmbacher from Law and Crime, and Judge Ashley Willcott that's still with us. And Colin, you're out there because we can't be in federal court and videotape it, which is really sad to me in today's day and age of transparency. But what are you seeing in that courtroom?
So a lot of what I'm seeing in the courtroom today is the audience reacting to Judge Ellis. Judge Ellis kind of has a reputation for, I guess, being, I don't know if surly is the right word, but he's got a personality as far as judges go. He likes to move things quickly through the court. He's not a full sufferer by any stretch of the imagination. And basically, he's trying to keep the rocket docket true to its name. And he's not particularly receiving, I suppose, the help he wants from the attorneys on either side, particularly the government attorneys who are trying to make everything a bit more tedious than the judge would like. That's basically been the story of the day here.
Yeah, you know, Colin, I've been listening to this about this judge and reading about it, and we have a judge with us, and I just have to be honest with you. I don't want a surly judge. I don't want a judge who has to be the smartest person in the room. I don't want a judge that's making gratuitous comments to the jury. I don't want a judge who's going to Judge Ito, I'm the center of attention. He could be the smartest guy going. It just affects your ability as a trial lawyer to try your case when you have these gratuitous comments.
Well, if anybody's been thrown off, and I hope I'm understanding your question because I'm hearing lots of train noises at the same time. But if anybody's been thrown off, it has been the government attorneys. The judge has kind of stopped the government from introducing quite a few pieces of evidence. On top of that, they've stopped the government from, I guess, in the judge's perspective, over-explaining that evidence. But he has kind of done it in, I would say, charitably in semi-cutting ways. So he's talked over a few attorneys a few times, but mostly from the government. The defense doesn't seem to be having much of an issue. They are raising quite a few objections, however.
I really don't care whether he's doing it to the government or to the defense attorneys. He's got a reputation of being a quote-unquote a guy that does this. I just particularly don't care for it. Let the lawyers try their case unless you have to. Colin, two really important points I want you to get to very quickly. This rocket docket that they talk about in this district, it is extraordinary that they were able to pick a jury, do opening statements, and put a witness on in one day. That's amazing. And the second question, answer either one you want in whatever order. I have a little bit of a trial tactical perspective. You're going to hear it on the Law and Crime Network first because I don't hear anyone else talking about it. Is it possible, based on this indictment and the evidence and listening to the opening statements and all the other independent corroborating evidence from believable witnesses, that the government may not call Rick Gates? Is that possible?
Okay, I understand what you're asking about now. There was a bit of a kerfuffle there. This once again came down to the judge kind of trying to talk over the government attorneys being caught off guard by the judge giving them short shrift. And essentially what had happened was the judge was telling the attorneys that they don't need to state and restate and state and restate over and over and over again because they would have Rick Gates coming to speak about a certain piece of evidence. Is that true or not? The government attorney kind of slipped up and said, well, you know, anything could happen, essentially, between now and when we decide to call Rick Gates. So what that prompted was a flood of about 20, 25 reporters to rush out of the room, and that's what they filed that report on. Immediately after that, the government attorneys clarified, yes, Rick Gates is going to testify. The judge made them clarify this. It was, like I said, just a bit of a kerfuffle, a slip-up, but Rick Gates lost it because of the wind.
There you go. It's nothing like...
It's
not a blackout,
right,
it's a whiteout.
The stabilization factor.
Colin, hold on a second, please. Judge, I'm curious about your opinion. In this indictment, there is so much information from Manafort's emails, telling accountants false information, filing false tax returns. I'm just saying tactically, I have said to people when I've had a cooperating witness, you know they're going to get beat up. You know the defense is going to make Gates the centerpiece of their examination. Why don't you wait? Because that could force the defendant to have to testify to introduce the defense, and you still have Gates as a rebuttal witness. What are your thoughts?
Right, the same, and that you would have him as a rebuttal witness. And then take into account one of the reasons that could be really effective in this case is you do have a judge who has a reputation for being a little bit hard on attorneys and moving the docket along and moving the case along. He's given them 3 weeks. He's already shown the prosecution, the state, yep, that's all you're going to get. I'm going to cut you off with this and this and this, and I'm going to manage my courtroom whether you like it or not. And so that affects their strategy. So I don't know why they wouldn't wait to use him as a rebuttal witness. I think that's a good strategy.
Well, you know, I have, again, this indictment, and Judge, if you look at this or your viewers look at it, these are all of the purchases that Mr. Manafort was making. There's no question about it, from offshore accounts that were never identified on his tax return and they were manipulated. That is enough for a conviction to put him away for a long time. I say think about it. Maybe Gates should be a rebuttal witness, but we're going to get back to this and more other interesting trials after the break. Okay, welcome back. You know, we're still with Colin and the judge, and our producers in their munificence have allowed me to go 3 more minutes with this because this is a fascinating trial tactic. I want to go back to Gates. Now, apparently the government has said they're going to call him, but I'm telling you as a boss of prosecutors, many times they want to call witnesses, and I would ask why. You have enough evidence without that particular, maybe you lose a count or two, but Judge Colin, there's like, I think 37 bullets in Manafort's gun between the 2 indictments in these cases. If Manafort gets convicted of one of those offenses, say goodnight. You can only win roulette on red so many times so that ball falls on black. So if you, this way you don't have to subject Gates to being beaten up and making the whole case about Gates. Judge, you were in the middle talking about that.
If they do call him as a witness, not as a rebuttal witness, that really they're going to try to get into not the numbers and the amount of money as much as the intention of Manafort, and that he had criminal intentions to commit the crime when this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you can draw some objections as to a lay person giving that opinion, but I don't know. They may have ways around that.
Colin, there were 2 things that came out that the government has that are aces in the hole. That is at least 2 emails from accountants saying, are you sure you have no foreign accounts, bank accounts, when we know he had 30 bank accounts in foreign countries, and he wrote back, no, none, on multiple years, checked off the box on the tax return that said none. Then, here you want to talk about what laundering is? Many people want to know what it means. It's washing the money from taxes. What does he do? He does everything from buying real estate property, buying, reconstructing his home, buying other homes, bank fraud with regard to the money coming from the places where it looks like it's a loan when in fact it was his income, all the way down to paying his housekeepers and gardeners with this money. So he got the use and enjoyment of the money, which was really income, without paying taxes. I don't think you need any other witness to prove it. It's right there, and it's in his own words.
Yeah, I understand the point you're making there, and we certainly saw lots and lots and lots and lots of pieces of evidence to that effect. What the government kept trying to do was connect the dots and have the an FBI special agents sort of connect the dots, reading things out loud. That's what upset Judge Ellis today, was trying to get the agent who simply sees the documents to speak to some of the relevance there. And that's where the defense kept winning on objection after objection. This is what prompted the whole Robert Gates snafu. And yeah, there were also plenty of objections where it was more or less the government making the case that Paul Manafort had this lavish lifestyle. The defense would raise an objection, and the judge would opine for about a paragraph's worth and talk about how this is America. We don't just judge people based on their wealth and how they spend.
Yeah, you see, this is exactly why the judge should not be interjecting himself, because the government is including that evidence to show he was buying everything from real estate property to an ostrich coat and a $15,000 watch. Where did the money come from? That's the point the prosecutor's bringing out. And it's clear it came from 30 banks that were never registered in the United States, and he had all that income because he wasn't paying taxes. What do you think, Judge?
It's not the judge's job to try the case. So when I hear that, I get incensed, because it's the judge's job to listen to the evidence, apply the law to the evidence, to make sure he manages the courtroom. And so I think it's completely inappropriate for him to make any comments at all. It's the prosecution's decision as to what evidence they want to try to present or not.
Yeah, I agree, Judge. So much saying. Colin, last question goes to you.
All righty.
What's the feel inside that courtroom? Is it as tense, as you can imagine? Is it kind of relaxed? What's happening?
Yeah, getting more or less of a relaxed vibe. The gallery, for whatever it's worth, loves when the judge does these little interjections. The attorneys on either side, of course, flip a coin depending on who's receiving those interjections. But the sense of the courtroom in general, kind of laid back. Paul Manafort entered the court today with what I would call a pained smile. He's been kind of staring down at his desk the entire time after that. And like I said, the government attorney is getting a little flummoxed, but the defense seems to be having a decent enough go at it thus far.
Well, yeah, I've been in plenty of cases. In fact, I was talking to the judge about this off camera, where I had the judge riding me in the beginning of a case, and at the end, the guy went away in handcuffs. Colin, great work out there. We really appreciate it. Judge,
Thanks,
you'll
Bob.
still be you got it. You'll still be staying with us, and we're going to go back to top crime stories, and we'll be talking to you on the other end. Thank you.